Hello everyone, welcome to the first of my blogs describing the next couple of months that I've got ahead of me. In December of last year, 2023, right at the end of the year, I twisted my back, just doing a normal thing, moving some wood, but it tweaked. I didn't really think too much of it, but I started to get quite a bit of shooting pain down my left leg and tried to go to the osteopath to relieve that pain, but he would be able to massage it out and then it would soon come back. And he said to me, you might have a slip disc or a herniated disc. And due to various processes and things going on, Christmas came around, had a new baby over Christmas. We lost our dog over Christmas and had a busy Christmas and New Year. And so nothing could really be looked at until mid-January. I just carried on taking painkillers, going to the doctor. They gave me more painkillers, more anti-inflammatories. But finally on the 10th of January, I managed to get an MRI scan, which revealed that I did indeed have an L4, L5 slip disc and another one on the L5S1. There are different ways to treat that. The first way is to give it a cortisone injection to release the muscle, and it kind of doesn't fix itself, but it gets rid of the pain, supposedly. And then surgery is the next step, with a big, busy start of the year at home in France where I live. And there was no real way of going into surgery, and so I had the cortisone injection and it didn't do a thing. Really didn't do anything at all. Moved the pain a little bit, but it didn't change the pain, and I was still in quite a lot of pain. So then went back to the doctor 2 weeks later. He was a very efficient doctor, and he said, well, the next step is surgery. So you're going to have to, we'll book you in surgery in 10 days' time, and you'll have a discectomy or a microdiscectomy, depending on how big or small it needed to be done. So knowing all this was happening, I didn't take any work on for the 2024 season, and kind of kept myself to myself. That was quite nice as well, because I've got now 2 children, and it meant that I could really focus on the birth of Milo, the youngest one, and be in the mountains with my wife throughout the whole of the winter season and focus on that, even with slightly pained back. And then the season finished on April the 6th, and on April the 7th in the evening, I was driven by my wife down to hospital in France, and that is basically where I have been ever since. So this is now Friday the 12th. Should have been really simple. Going to surgery on Monday morning, and they would operate on me. In France, it's very interesting because you are forecast to spend at least 3 days in hospital before they release you. In other countries, I've been reading that you can be out in half a day. America, Australia, South Africa, UK. So everyone seems to do it slightly differently. But here in France, definitely we're going to stay in hospital until Wednesday, and then be released. Sorry, arm's really hurting. So surgery actually ended up going in at about lunchtime, about midday, under general anaesthetic. Love the feeling of going into a general anaesthetic, just kind of dozing off. Came around about 3-4 hours later, and actually the first night didn't feel too bad. Really felt okay. Typical kind of French system, not a huge amount of information given to me. I didn't really know what I should and shouldn't do, but figured resting and not moving too much was probably what I should be doing. So I tried to stay as still as possible. One slight error that I did make when they served us dinner, I was really hungry because you can't eat the night before. Or I could eat the night before, but I couldn't eat the morning of my surgery. So basically I hadn't eaten for a full 24 hours when they offered a burger and pasta for dinner. And I was ravenous. So I tried to move myself onto a seated position to enjoy some food, and that was very, very painful, sitting or getting into that position. So I absolutely woofed down the food, flat out, and then fell asleep. And at about 2-3 in the morning, woke up and could not move. I had a drain coming out of the back of my spine, which needed to be picked up and moved from one side of the bed to the other. So made rolling quite difficult, and I've got lots of stitches in my back, so I can't really roll. But that made it difficult to roll. But then actually, I've never really thought about this, but you do use your back muscles quite often with lots of very minor things. So to roll your body from left to right in bed, you do use those lumbar muscles, and I couldn't use them. It would send an instant pain down my leg, actually more painful than I'd ever experienced in the 3 months previous to that. And that was quite worrying. They kept giving me painkillers. They kept giving me more different painkillers, trying me on every 2 hours on a different one, it seemed. It does seem as though for a traditional discectomy, you're not supposed to have particularly strong painkillers. You don't need to have strong painkillers. In France, we've been given 1 milligram, is it 1 gram? No, 1 gram of paracetamol. In the UK, 500 milligrams. So it's not expected that you're going to be taking really strong painkillers, but I was on morphine and big cortisone injections and things like this. And in the middle of the night, when I was trying to roll from one side to the other, because I was getting pain in my hip, because you can't lie on your back. If you lie on your back where all the surgery has been, then you'll dislodge the stitches. So you have to be on your left or your right. And of course, you're in a hospital bed, which is not necessarily the most comfortable, on metal, and it was digging into my hip. And so I was losing sensation in my legs from basically the bed being uncomfortable. So I was trying to roll to the other side, and that was impossible. Then I had the nurses try and help me roll, and it didn't work. And by the morning I woke up and I really couldn't feel my left leg at all, and it wasn't moving. And I could feel pain in the calf muscle and in the muscles like I had done before, but my actual foot wasn't doing anything, which is quite scary. And the surgeon came in and kind of said hello, and busy day ahead, so he didn't spend too much time chatting. And he went off, and eventually the kinetherapist came, and the kine couldn't get me out of bed. I tried to roll onto seated position to then stand. That wasn't possible. And so she then reported back to the doctor, the surgeon, that probably need another MRI. So eventually went for the emergency MRI, and it was pretty clear that the nerve still had some material resting on it and pushing it backwards. What that material was, seems to be a secret. But thankfully, it was relatively easy to remove, clean up, and so on Wednesday afternoon I came round after my second general anaesthetic with no pain at all, and quite honestly felt pretty good. Again, uncomfortable lying on one side or the other, but honestly the pain from before and the sciatica pain had completely gone away. So that was a really great positive. Yesterday, Thursday, was the first day in 4 days that I had moved out of that bed. They tried to roll me around a little bit to get me onto the MRI scanner, and obviously I get put onto a different bed for the surgery. But me personally, I hadn't got out of that bed for 4 days, and Thursday was the first time I did so. So understandably, it was a bit weird, using your legs for the first time in 4 days. Rolling and swinging your legs down off the ground, standing up with the help of a physiotherapist, and then just some very light exercises to get everything moving, which I've been now repeating 3 or 4 times a day for the last 2 days. It was quite tiring the first time, and I went straight back to sleep after doing it the first time. And the doctor said there's still a lot of chemicals in your body from general anaesthetics, and not taking too much painkillers. I'm on very little painkillers, in fact, just a little bit of anti-inflammatories. but there's not a great deal of pain at the moment. It's Friday, when surgery was Wednesday, first surgery was Monday, and interestingly, I have to have an ambulance to take me back to my house. In other parts of the world, you can leave the day after your surgery in your own car. Maybe not drive, but you can certainly be in your car. Here in France, you cannot be in a car at all, and they say for 6 weeks, but they say due to the vibrations. So it's very interesting, the different rules and regulations across the world. Either way, an ambulance will be taking me home and back to my family after 5 days in hospital. And then I will be basically focusing on strengthening my back for the next month. And let's see how that goes. Right now, feels great. Like, I really feel strong, and I don't feel too tired. There is a bit of stiffness from not using my legs. I've done 475 steps today, so I haven't done very much at all. But I'm expecting it, as I've looked online over the last couple of nights, watching people's blogs and videos, that it's not going to be smooth sailing for the next 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. That's what they say. At least a month without physiotherapy, and then another 1-2 months with physiotherapy before I can do any kind of sport or really lifting. So I'm definitely getting into a car though before 6 weeks. That's for sure.